Hi, everyone. Welcome to our Ron DeSantis Twitter space.
Hello? Is my microphone working correctly?
George, can you just wait while we...
Hello? Can you hear me?
We can all hear you, George. Can you just hold on for a second?
Hilfa, I don't think they can hear me.
I can hear you fine, George. Just speak to the
I don't think George knows how to use Twitter.
Hello? Can you hear me now?
Can I please make my big announcement now? Everyone just...
Hello?
Just shut up, George.
Can somebody just mute George?
Dick, could you try not to cough on the...
Okay, so how are we going to take out Trump, you guys?
Guys from the FBI, this is not a private call. This is a public Twitter space. Everyone can listen in.
God damn it.
All right. that was the variant of the Twitter space that Donald Trump posted when Ron DeSantis was running his problematic Twitter space, if you will.
What is a Twitter space? It's like a crowd, a room, like a chat room.
Yeah, only it's all audio and it can build up a lot of people.
All right.
And for whatever reason, I guess because of Elon liking Ron DeSantis, it was determined that Ron DeSantis was going to declare his run for presidency via a Twitter space. And I guess he wanted to erase, 65 years or so of wisdom that television and visual is more important than audio, going back to JFK and Richard Nixon. But hey, might be a good comparison. Ron DeSantis is Nixon, and
well, I think a better comparison is that he's Jeb Bush, and the comparison obviously being, backed by the Bush crime family, coming out of Florida, governor, milquetoast, middle of the road cat. There's a lot of similarities between Jeb Bush, and I think that's going to be his fate. He will be the next Jeb Bush to be destroyed by Trump in some sort of visual format on a stage. I can imagine a debate. I don't think little Marco is going to be there, and some of the other cats like Ted Cruz are not going to be there. But there will be this guy DeSantis, who, if he merely had waited and quietly kept his head down and governed his own state for 4 more years, he might have had a political career and not have committed political harry-carry, to use our new phrase here. Thank you, Hunley. Thank you.
Yes, yes.
He's so happy when I don't say the S word, Hunley.
That's right. It makes me happy. I like to stay monetized without a black label over our videos.
Blow me. Anyway, so I believe that he has committed political harry-carry. The fact that it was melting down on Twitter is just symbolic, but for a guy who's got 1.5 million followers on Twitter, which is commendable, you're the governor of a state, you got 1.5 million. That's pretty good. I've only got 8,000 and pushing 10,000, whatever, but I'm not the governor of a state. I'm just one man in my underwear living in Hollywood. The reality of it is, the guy he's up against has 87 million followers on Twitter. Now, he may be running from a jail cell in Rikers Island, but he also has Truth Social and these followers that are on Twitter. If he merely tweets something out of the blue today about the color of the sky, 86 million people will hear him cough. So the idea, what I'm getting at is the idea to choose that format when you're outnumbered 80-1 or 85 million to 1 million is bizarre, to say the least. The fact that it's not visual is bizarre. The fact that it melted down and had electronic problems, forcing the resignation today from Twitter of the Twitter talking spaces, whatever that place is, leader. Apparently hundreds were fired, and Musk left it to 3 people, including this guy who resigned today over this DeSantis debacle the other day, I presume.
Yeah, I saw that a senior engineer resigned. I didn't know if he was tied to the space or not. I mean, the timing is interesting, but
he was the leader of the space, according to my sources. He was the space commander, as they say at Twitter.
So he was jettisoned.
He was jettisoned, and he was beamed down to the planet surface, a cold, dark planet outside of the Federation.
Wow, fantastic.
Right. Let me ask you, whatever happened to Musk's car that was in space?
It's orbiting or traveling.
Okay, all right.
Technically, it's probably space debris, but I like it. Anyway, look at Georgina's back, and she liked the intro. So
Okay,
thank you
all
very
right,
much.
that's something. How's my hair, Georgina? Look at this. It looks pretty good hair day today. What's going on?
And Nate also liked the intro.
Nate out of the Bronx, weighing in at 165 pounds, the bantamweight fighter out of the Bronx, New York, in the silver trunks.
And
Nate,
then
the lawyer.
This came in before he came on, but it was saying that Dice was on Rogan this week telling the story of how he met Rick Rubin through a mark or something.
Wait a
who
minute.
was a writer.
That's neither here nor there. We're on strike, my friend. I can't comment on that. But the dice rules the earth. Everybody knows that. My favorite story, of course, in all time with the dice is Nora Dunn, who I saw in a movie this weekend. I don't know what she was doing. She had a minor part in a movie, and my girlfriend was asking me who Nora Dunn is. And Nora Dunn, when she was on SNL, along with one or two other actresses, boycotted the hosting of SNL, I think it was 1989, by Andrew Dice Clay, believing that the Andrew Dice Clay character was him in actuality and not a character. This is getting back again to an episode we just did with Alex Stein, 99, where he's in a character and he digs Andy Kaufman, who was in a character. Andrew, this Andrew Dice Clay was a character that he created. Nora Dunn protested and walked off along with the Irish folk singer, I forget her name, who carved a cross in her head to denounce the Pope. What was the name of the shaved head? She was supposed to be the musical guest that week. The chat knows who it is. But anyway, the point of the matter is the people, the girls, the women who were on Saturday Night Live could not see through the character of Andrew Dice Clay, despite being in a show that did comedy parody sketches. And that's kind of when they started to go off the rails in the early 90s, late 80s, and then the Gene Dumenian period where Woody Allen's future producer became the producer of SNL. The whole thing started to crash and burn. But I believe it started with this Nora Dunn women's boycott of Andrew Dice Clay in 1989 of SNL.
Great, lovely. And folks who are watching on Rumble, I got a weird message from StreamYard that it's having trouble connecting, even though it was connected. So maybe we're having a Musk moment ourselves on Rumble. I don't know. There's nothing I can do about it. Other than
Soviet Musk era has begun. The Soviet Musk era. I mean, it seems like this guy goes back and forth every other day. One day he's a Soviet, the next day he's a Nazi, then he's a Soviet, then he's a middle of the roader. I mean, the guy can't seem to put his feet on the ground and, say where he stands on issues. He seems to be blowing with the wind, as they say.
So are you saying that he's Scott Adams? No.
Again, I don't know who Scott Adams is. It's like saying he's Jack Blumenstein. I don't know who Scott Adams. I've seen him, but and he seems like a contrarian. But to put Scott Adams in the same conversation with Elon Musk is a little unusual. It's like talking about Abraham Lincoln, and you go, really? Just like Alex Johnson, who ran a butcher store in the Bronx.
Exactly.
Oh, exactly. Right. Third base. Anyway, so I meant to tell you, and I told you a couple of these stories that happened to me during the week. Everything's just, Mercury's not even in retrograde and things are going kablooey. I was in the park and right over here, Griffith Park, the largest park of any urban park in America. It's so large that it's got mountain lions in it. And I went to see Dwight Yoakam and Emily Lou Harris at the Greek Theater Thursday last week night. And very strangely, Emmy Lou Harris gave a shout out to P29, the recently dead mountain lion that's been stalking Griffith Park for years. Okay. And anybody who got that reference in the crowd, which a lot of them did, to have a music star shout out a dead mountain lion, I thought was odd. And then Dwight, of course, in the singing of the song Streets of Bakersfield, inserted Los Feliz, which was kind of cool. But when I was in the park the other day, I was sitting there waiting for someone, and about 100, maybe 50 yards away from me, a very large young girl had fallen down. Morbidly obese girl. And she was laying, and her sister or younger version of herself was there. Yeah, there's the girl. And she had a completely violent German Shepherd on the leash, and she was barely holding on to the leash because the girl had stepped into a hole and fractured that left ankle you see there. People walking by, going to play tennis, and of course I have to go into action because I can't take it anymore, quite reluctantly, but I had to do what I had to do. So I call 911 and they're sending over EMS, and now I'm dealing with the situation by myself, right? So the sister on the right is about 9 or 10. This is a big family. So I thought the girl on the ground may have been 25. It turned out she was 17. But she was holding on to the German Shepherd for dear life. So I was telling the sister, like I tried to get close. The German Shepherd almost broke loose and would have killed me. It smelled Jew from a mile away, this German Shepherd. This dog was on, yit alert. So I couldn't get closer than this. And I told the sister, the little one, that you got to hold on to the dog too, because the other girl on the ground may black out and the dog will run wild. So anyway, the EMS eventually shows up and they come out. There's like 6 different guys. This is her still holding on to the dog for dear life. And they said, what's the story? So I said, well, this dog, they bring out that gurney and the dog is, really violent. And I said to them, the dog's really violent. You may have to dart the dog to get to the girl, because if she unleashes the dog to pick her up, the dog's just going to go crazy. So the guy says, I can handle this. And he goes over with some dog biscuits in his hand, gets really close, and he's going, and he almost rips the guy's hand off. And I'm going, bro, I told you, you're going to have to do something. So they FaceTime the father. It was a Mexican standoff. And they waited for the dad to come in his minivan to take the dog because none of them would touch the girl who was writhing in agony. This was going on for half an hour, by the way. There's nothing they could do. They won't dart the dog. They won't use the net of justice or whatever they supposedly use. There's 2 other park ranger vehicles in back of that fire department truck, and they have guns and they have tasers or whatever. But they made a judgment to wait for the dad, and then the dad came and took the German Shepherd, put it in the minivan, and then they came with that blue thing there. Anyway, so they put the dog in the minivan and they get her on the blue thing, and it's like rainy kind of, day. So she, because of her weight, sinks into the mud in the gurney chair. So now the chair itself, that chair is stuck in the grass because it's on wheels, Eric. And she, you can't make this up. So now they're all lifting that chair with that girl in that gurney to get over to that truck. And finally, the situation dissipated and I was able to go about my business. But again, I was forced by society to act as a good citizen and do what I had to do. I'm not taking any credit for any of this bullshit. Believe me, I didn't want to do it. But the idea that everybody was just walking past her to go play tennis, this spot is between the tennis courts and a famous carousel that's over there on the right that you don't see. It's in a lot of movies. So there's tennis courts and the carousel and people just walking on by, just like any. It happens in New York, it happens in LA, but there'll be somebody dead and they'll step over them to get to the deli because things are on sale or something. It's a typical big city move. But the girl turned out to be fine. She had fractured her ankle and is on the mend. So there's a happy ending to that story. Oh,
good. And your intrepid reporting brought it to us today.
Yes. Well, I just happened to tell you the story when I got home. So I thought, I did take some photos and some evidence to make sure I was covered,
Fair enough. I totally agree. Got some super chats in. One thing cool about just hanging out is we can spend some more time with super chats. Mark, would you agree there's nothing quite as funny as Gilbert doing Dice and Dracula Gottfried on the Stern Show?
Okay. Almost as funny as him doing Cramden and Norton on stage while switching to James Mason in Casablanca with being Humphrey Bogart being James Mason and then Richard Burton. So he goes from Cramden and Norton in The Honeymooners in Casablanca to James Mason and Richard. What did I say? Richard Burton. Right. In the same. Dude, I can't even explain this. You're getting on that plane, Alice. You're getting on that plane right to the moon. Yeah. And he does this whole thing as Cramden. Then he switches to James Mason and Richard Burton doing it. Funnier than him doing that is all I got to tell you. That thing where he would do Casablanca with different characters was the greatest thing I ever heard in my life.
Didn't he have somebody piss somebody off though when he kept mocking them to their face or impersonating them?
I'm sure there's a lot of people. He went down to Alabama to do a show. No reflection on Greg Bedell down in Alabama, whose show I did yesterday in Montgomery, the radio show, which I recommend. He went down to do a show in Alabama, and they were all staring at him with cowboy hats, complete stare jobs. They didn't know what he was talking about. I don't know if he was a headliner. It was just one of these weird nights. He did the whole show in Yiddish and then just walked off.
All right, then. Obviously, he doesn't care too much about the audience.
No, he really didn't care. He really didn't care.
Norm Macdonald had a little bit of that in him. Maybe
Gilbert had a lot more of it than anybody I've ever seen. I mean, I've seen him do whole shows at the Bottom Line in New York with his back turned to the audience like he was the Miles Davis of comedy and never turn around. He hated having lights in his eyes. So when the lights of the stage were in his eyes, he would work with his eyes closed because it was so disturbing to him optically that it wasn't being rude. But
is that why he squinted all the time like that? He had eye issues?
Not eye issues. You go out and stand there with bright lights in your eyes all freaking night. You'd have eye issues too, Hunley. The reality of it is
he's sensitive. Oh my.
No, I'm telling you the truth. It is. No. It can be completely physically debilitating.
Sure.
And people who are comics know what I mean. Singers know, but I mean, even I was watching this Emmylou Harris performance the other night at the Greek, and from the stage, 4 times she told them to turn down the lights that were in her eyes. It's a thing. It's a real thing. Now, if you're Dwight Yoakam and you got a cowboy hat pulled down over your eyes, maybe that's why he's got the cowboy hat pulled down way over his eyes. But to a lot of performers, it can be completely annoying and blinding and disconcerting and also disconnecting you from the audience. And anyway, so Gilbert would do entire shows with his back turned to the audience. And I think the first time I ever saw that was Miles Davis. And people thought Miles Davis, the trumpet player, the bebop trumpet player, was being rude and cool. But in reality, I think like others, he didn't like the lights. Just my opinion. Miles Davis was a maniac and he was rude and abusive. So it might have been both.
All right. Jim Satala, Musk is just the face of a cabal of tech billionaires who are backing DeSantis. Financially, they're putting several $1 billion into his campaign. Yeah.
Sure. How do you know that?
There's a lot of buzz about.
Okay.
Well, I mean, Musk is definitely supporting him and propping him there. I think Peter Thiel's also supporting him and putting him out there.
He voted for Joe Biden. He voted for Joe Biden.
Who did?
Elon Musk.
Oh, I just mentioned Thiel. Okay, so
no. He's mentioning Musk. I don't care what you say. He paid us $5, Hunley. We have to address his question.
Okay, well, Musk definitely supports DeSantis. He said, "I will vote for DeSantis." He's in love with DeSantis.
I'm just saying, like at the beginning of the show, he seems to blow with the wind. He voted for Joe Biden the last time. Now that he's in back of DeSantis, it just demonstrates my point, I think.
Okay, and Peter Thiel, his good friend, I believe is behind him. Dave Rubin says a lot of nice things about DeSantis. You'll notice, and
he lives in Florida and he wants a tax break. Why wouldn't he?
Okay, there we go.
No, I'm just saying it's political Harry Carey. I mean, there's no way. He has just destroyed his political career. If you want to jump on a sinking ship, jump on the Ron DeSantis sinking ship, because the idea that he could win the nomination is preposterous. So where does it go from here? You want to throw billions of dollars down the drain? Knock yourself out. Knock yourself out. Thank you for not helping Trump. Thank you for giving a re-election to 4 more years of unchecked Joe Biden. Think about that, Elon. Think about what you're doing. Stupid douchebag. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
All right. I don't disagree.
I know you don't. I mean, but is this the same question? Or?
No. Question for Mark. Is there any truth to the rumor that the Grateful Dead applied to be hired as the lounge act?
Yeah, it's a lounge act. That's funny. That's funny. Thanks, Patrick. That's funny. It's a lounge. There's like a lounge. But I'll tell you something. They did the movie The Recruit, which was based on my movie The Farm, Colin Farrell and Al Pacino. And they took the guy who was running the propaganda campaign out of Langley, took the crew to dinner and lunch inside of the CIA headquarters there, and they did a little mini doc to boost the movie inside of Langley, just as a movie booster.
Okay. YouTube censorship. Hey guys, subscribing to joined as a member. Your stuff is fantastic. Deep dive in history. I love it. John, thank you very much. This one's a question from Sean Brim. Have you heard about the SAG vote themselves maybe going into strike, supporting writers or somehow tied to the writer's strike?
They have a contract. Their contract's not up, so that's not going to happen. I mean, they obviously are supporting the strike, if that's what it means. I mean, most of the other unions, I mean, nothing's happening. So it's just that SAG is supporting or honoring the WGA, which is traditional, as are the other guilds.
So why would they vote?
I don't know if there's a vote. Yeah, I don't see why there would be a vote.
I don't know. Well, it could be two of your unions.
No, what I'm saying is again, to explain this for the 500th time, the WG contract was up. It was about streaming. It was left on the table during the last strike. The contract came up and they said they were going to strike, and they voted overwhelmingly to go on strike. The other guilds honor that strike. There doesn't need to be an additional vote by the other guilds because Hollywood is shut down. So you're voting to shut yourself down again, I guess. I don't know. There's nothing happening.
That's the ultimate virtue signal then, isn't it?
Again, there's nothing happening in town. So it might be the ultimate virtue signaling. You're right. It might very well be. All
right. YouTube censorship. Smoked a bowl of weed behind the fence of the grassy knoll on my 40th birthday years ago. It was really cool, pondering the moment.
Whoa. I wonder if Badge Man took a large hit off of mini Badge Bong before he launched his fuselage of bullets.
I don't know. That's crazy. We've got some tips from locals in. Did you see the DeSantis gang bragging about the unlimited money Wall Street is giving Ron, talking about not being able to read the room?
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
Yeah. Let me ask you something. The 85 million voters for Trump, how many of them, and we talked to Rich about this, that there may be another 10 to 15% on top of the original 85. So it may be 105 million voters for Trump that are going to vote for him in the upcoming election. How many are going to peel off to vote for DeSantis out of that 100 million?
Or even more? How about Tim Scott?
Right. Right. I mean, of course, they want to have a primary debate with him, and I guess they just want to be destroyed. It's baffling to me why you can't wait 4 years until it's an open field and this guy's gone. Because as you know, when we discuss this, Eric, it's really difficult to beat an incumbent. It's even more difficult to beat a corrupt incumbent who stole his way into the thing in the first place. They're controlling every single lever of power they did not control 3.5 years ago. So add on to what they did with the bundling and harvesting and everything else, what they could do from inside the powers of the government, and you've got an even more powerful incumbent. Okay, why would you waste your political and financial capital to run against the incumbent when you can wait 4 years, raise the money for the first time, not go back to those guys again who gave you $4 billion, saying, I need another $4 billion, even though I pissed away the $4 billion you gave me to run against the incumbent where I was destroyed 4 years ago. Again, this just seems like political psychology 101 to me, but I may be an idiot. Maybe I'm missing something. To run against an incumbent, you have to be damn sure with a clean feel that you could beat him. Otherwise, you're younger than him. You're 50. I don't know how old DeSantis is, but you're younger than this guy by half. You could wait 3.5 to 4 years, run your state, keep your head down, come out of the gate like a bull, raise trillions of dollars with an open field, and take on, I guess, Gavin Newsom, okay? Instead of an incumbent. That's my advice to DeSantis, but I'm just a lone voice. That would be my political advice. However, if you're controlled like a puppet by the Bush crime family out of Florida, and Karl Rove is your chief advisor, and they're urging you now to run to muddy the waters, to throw another monkey wrench into the Trump campaign, well, then you're a doofus. Then you're a doofus. Then you've been exposed, and maybe we're all better off, for knowing how stupid you are now than to wait 4 years from now when we wouldn't have the chance to vet you, so to speak.
What do you think about the other candidates like Ramaswamy and others? Are those stunt campaigns just to draw attention
Well,
to themselves?
Vivek has been banned by LinkedIn, one of the great open free speech platforms in the United States. LinkedIn has banned Vivek for, I think he was saying that there are prosperous amounts of fossil fuels available in the United States.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, you know what else LinkedIn is behind too, right? Or at least Reid Hoffman, the guy who runs LinkedIn,
Yeah.
he funded the Gene Carroll lawsuit against Trump.
Okay. So
He also liked Epstein Island.
It just seems like when we started doing this show, we put out these dots, and now the dots are being connected by our viewers and ourselves, and these dots are becoming very, very crystal clear on the screen. We used to be called conspiracy theorists, people like us, and now we're just pragmatic opinion makers using the facts and figures that we have at our fingers to connect dots that seem quite obvious to people based on just a little bit of research, like you're explaining here, of funding this woman's campaign against Trump and other things that he's doing. And the internet has pulled back the curtain on the Wizard of Oz, for better or for worse. We've had this conversation before.
Well, it makes it easier, so much easier, because
but
you'd have to go to the library, you'd have to go through microfilm, and now there's a lot of searches, and it's easier to.
Well, what I'm saying is that the flip side to that is, because of that, they've become more oppressive in their retaliation against the people who are pulling back the curtain to see the wizard. So it's a double-edged sword. We're getting more information, but the retaliation against us, if you see the Oath Keeper guy, if you see the January 6 people, we don't have time to give the list of all people who have been targeted through political oppression by the administration and the Department of Justice. That's because they can't control the curtain pullers, in my humble opinion. The curtain is pullable. It was never pullable before, Eric. And now it is. A guy in his underwear in his basement in Indiana can pull back the curtain and see the wizard. That cannot be allowed. There has to be, and the only thing they can use is intimidation. That's why the January 6th thing is so important to them. It's not just the January 6th people themselves. Their lives have been destroyed. They're completely destroyed. It's about scaring the living F out of everyone else who would consider this, because that's all you have in a repressive regime that has an open door policy to information. It's two things happening at once. The Soviet citizenry didn't have the internet and the ability to pull back the curtain. So they weren't as dangerous to the regime as these American people are to these totalitarian regimes that are now forming and solidifying their place atop the American political building, out of Washington and the United States. And, we're seeing what happened up in California, seeing people like Viva fleeing to the South, like refugees out of Nazi Germany in 1933. I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy.
It's true. It's true. And then, of course, we have people like, did you see the Hunter College professor?
Oh, yeah. You got to love her. I mean, the fact that she, what's that?
Hold on. Well, here we go.
Okay.
I was going to say, it's 10 seconds. I mean,
Oh, I'm sorry.
Let's get out of here. You can't do that.
Away from my door.
that's exactly how you, react to a reporter.
Well, of course, this is Nate the lawyer's neighbor in the Bronx. She lives right next. That's Nate's apartment door. If you look to the left over there, that's his apartment. But this guy's a pretty famous reporter. He's not a random reporter for the New York Post. He's pretty famous. He's got 1 million bylines. He came up there, luckily, with his press photographer from the New York Post. These are two legitimate reporters covering a story about her attacking the pro-life table at the school where she taught, which I think was Hunter College. And she came at him with a machete. Not only did she come at him with a machete, she chased him out into the street, down the street in the Bronx with the machete, turned herself in the next day or 2 days later to the precinct in the Bronx. They did do a perp walk with her in handcuffs. She was charged with harassment and menacing or some other bullshit that didn't amount to much and released. under her own recognizance, getting to keep her machete so she could fight her way back to her apartment after being released by the Bronx, New York City Police Department up there.
But fortunately, not her way back to Hunter College, because at least we found out that will get them fired finally.
Yeah, that's what Jonathan Turley wrote a piece that I put up on Locals, where he said, "Is this the standard to get fired?" Because her destroying the table of the free speech advocates on pro-life.
Oh no, that's fine.
Well, as I'm saying in the article, Turley makes the case that the new standard is machetes. In other words, you can't get fired unless you attack a man with a machete. That's the standard, because the other firing offense was her doing what she originally did. That led to support from the administration of Hunter College, which led to embolden this maniac, this sick fuck, to take a machete and try to chop the head off of a New York Post reporter. It's not funny. You think it's funny, Hunley?
I didn't know I was laughing.
I know, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. But no, the reality of it is, I mean, she's a psycho who should be in jail. She should do 1 year to 2 years in jail for attempted murder. I mean, let's be honest.
Well, it's one of those yet again, like Central Park, or not Central Park, but the city bike Karen. It's like, let's take that scenario and let's just reverse the races and tell me the outcome.
Well, I mean, that's the same one with the pregnant pseudo Karen who was getting one of the city bikes.
That's what
outside.
I just said.
What did I say?
I said city bike Karen story that it reversed the races.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the original Karen, the one that
No,
Barnes.
that's Central Park.
Well, Central Park Karen I referred to as Barnes Karen, because
okay.
That's why I was confused, because Robert got her out of jail with an apology and an expungement by the New York City Police. This particular newer city bike Karen that you're referring to, somebody you know intimately, her problem is still in limbo because she's lawyered up and is now dealing with the destruction of her reputation and everything else that happened.
Still suspended from her job.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
But that was the point I was making. If you take her scenario and reverse the races, let's say it was 5 white males.
Let me write this down. 5 white males.
Okay, take notes. Yes.
Okay.
I'll speak slowly.
Go on. 5 white males.
And a
black. What do they look like? What do they look like, sir?
Tall.
5 white tall males. Go on.
They were muscular. They look like bikers.
Bikers. I like that.
Something like out of that new Bud Light Harley Davidson commercial. Probably.
Let me tell you something. I was in the supermarket yesterday. There was one lone symbolic case, and I believe this is true, of Bud Light. There's dozens and dozens of other brands, case after case after case. But in the display case, and there was only one case of Bud Light, and I think it was left there symbolically. There was no other cases. Okay. So now we've got Target, right, Eric? With as we saw by Alex Stein last week, Target has now gone into emergency session to determine how much of their children's LGBTQ garb should be allowed to be on display. Apparently, there's been a boycott of Target now, losing some estimate I saw in the paper yesterday, $9 billion. Is that possible?
And I saw something. I don't know if this is actual conservatives. I don't know how they would identify them as such, but supposedly one of the stores is trashed and there was water everywhere. Elijah Schaefer, the one who's formerly the Blaze and the lawsuit, was saying those who think conservatives can't be dangerous, But I don't know if that is misinformation or not. I thought it was very interesting. Oh, did you check on the way out? Did they all MAGA or something when they were leaving? How would you know?
I don't know. I saw a video of a guy going into a store in Florida and knocking over a sign. That was the extent of it. But the reality of it is they've lost billions of dollars with this clothing situation. And now North Face is being boycotted because of their Tranny in the Woods commercial. Come out in the woods. I don't know if you've seen that commercial. No. Totally unnerving. And the Bud Light thing with Mulvaney. But getting to the thing that I care the most about is the transgendered nuns situation here with the Dodgers in LA. The situation has now become a pushback and a Catholic boycott by the leading Catholic organization in the country has written a letter to the Dodgers, and they're putting in millions of dollars into a campaign to boycott the Dodgers. So there is incredible blowback now by the Catholic organizations of the United States. Yeah, I know. It's really crazy because these transgendered Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence is their name. They're very creepy. They dress as nuns in whiteface. They have things like putting Jesus on a cross and then having a pole dancer writhing on top of him. I don't even want to get into it. They've gone into churches to take a Eucharist from unsuspecting priests and then ripping off their clothes and doing stuff. Whatever it is. The Dodgers decided for Pride Night, which is going to be one of the biggest shit shows I've ever seen in my life. It's coming up on June 16th. You talk about a convergence of bad ideas. It's going to be a Friday night, Pride Night, fireworks against the hated San Francisco Giants, and it's also drone night. Okay, so you've got attack drones. No, you can't make this up.
No, but footage.
Right.
Oh, there's gonna be awesome footage with the drones.
You can't make this up. In a city where 43% of the Latino Dodger fans are Catholic, the 43% of their fans are Latino Catholics in the stadium. There's another 20 to 25% of white Catholics who are fans. Vince Scully, the announcer of the Dodgers, 55 years, a legendary conservative Catholic, recently passed away a year and a half ago. Tommy Lasorda, Italian Catholic, the face of the franchise. It goes on and on and on. And every Latino player that ever starred on the Dodgers was a Latino Catholic. So somebody higher up in the Dodger organization, unnamed, but it had to be super high up, rescinded the invitation to the nuns, the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence. Now, it wasn't a lower level person because they wouldn't have the gonads or the political ability to do it. So we suspect it was an executive very high up in the organization.
Somebody powerful enough that their name's not leaked either.
Right.
So they've got to be so high up that they could make the decision, and we still don't know who it was.
Right. So what happens is incredible blowback by the gay community in LA. And they sit down with Stan Kasten, the president of the Dodgers, who buckles within 30 seconds of sitting down. He's starting to take a knee, as they say. Mm-hmm. And they are supposed to get the Heroes of the Community Award, as sick as that sounds. The only heroes in this community are the fire department and the police. The fire department putting out 350% more fires annually because of the homeless, and the police for having to deal with an empty bench of backups because they've all been fired, having to deal with a crime rate that's 130% higher than it's been in the past 3 years in terms of murder and strong arm robberies, carjackings, and everything else. So those are the heroes of the community. The Dodgers decided the heroes of the community were the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence. Okay, that's insane. I don't care. And you're not a bigot because you say that a hate group should not be receiving a Heroes of the Community Award. This is an anti-Catholic hate group. That's what they are. That's what they do. That's their arch enemy. And the LA is the largest Catholic diocese in the country, largest amount of Catholics in the country, and the biggest Catholic organization of fans is the Los Angeles Dodgers. So now with this Catholic vote and pro-Catholic group from the church, the archdiocese, offering millions of dollars in a campaign to boycott the Dodgers, you could see the conundrum that these corporations are now in, is where I was going with this. Target having emergency meetings around the clock, Bud Light destroying their entire brand. At what point is the ESG rating that they're being muscled into approving and muscled into achieving by these hate groups going to be too much for them to bear for their stockholders?
By the way, that brings us back to Vivek Ramaswamy. That's how he came onto the scene, is like a few years back. He was the guy who was screaming about ESG.
Oh, yeah.
And wrote a book on it. So, credit to him. I guess he's like the Jordan Peterson of ESG.
Well, when I saw him, he was on Tucker. Now, Tucker, from what I understand, is setting up his studio up in Maine. And there's been a number of rumors circulating that other Fox anchors are willing to leave to go join him in some sort of parallel Fox universe. Not this. This may be a huge story, Eric. You know, I'm hearing from Fox people with blonde hair who may be joining him, and some people who are currently on air who may be joining him.
Oh, I think that's totally plausible for multiple reasons. One, they're being run out. It's just a matter of time before half of them they'll be shown the door. From what I understand, I think it was Megyn Kelly that went into it, but she's pretty wired in, being the same lawyer and all that.
She's one of the rumors to go join him.
She might. Well, she already has her own audience and everything, so probably would. But she was saying that Fox doesn't want stars anymore. They want to have like the local reporter type, so they could just have controllable bots, if you will, on the network. Nobody's a star, nobody's famous, nobody has a voice, and all the talent, you know, what Judge Janine or whatever, all these other ones,
Janine Pirro.
They're like, they know that there's a target on them because Fox is. It's funny because Fox and CNN might literally switch. Somebody has mentioned that. I was like, God, you might be right, because the new owner of CNN is cleaning out all the Don Lemons, Brian Selt, you know, all these idiots.
That's Chris Licht, I think.
Yeah, Chris Licht. Yeah. And he's nowhere near like the previous group. He's like, I just want to make money.
Well, Murdoch, as you know, has met secretly with Ron DeSantis. The story broke today that he is backing him 100%. That's the story that came out today.
He also met with Elon Musk.
So, I mean, this is where it is. Either the billionaires run this country or the 85 million people who voted for Trump run this country. It can't be both. It's either us or them. I mean, either you've got an oligarchy with these cats, or you've got a populist movement through Trump at this time. I mean, he's not forever. At this time, those are the limited choices that we have. Because the idea of Biden for another 4 years, again, it's just insane. It's absolutely insane, because anybody in a second term, any president in the second term, whoever it is, can do all the draconian things they want to do because they're not up for re-election again. So he could just do, or his group, his cabal, his Soviet Politburo, whoever the hell is running this puppet, will be able to do things that are so shocking and so bizarre. It'll make his first term, look like the first term of Obama, as opposed to the second term. But, they control the strings of power here, Eric. So it's going to be very difficult to wrest it from them. You're going to need to defeat them so badly, like they talk about the challenger in boxing, taking the title from the title holder in boxing. You got to knock them out. You're not going to win on points. And I think that's a very adroit analogy to what's going to have to happen in this upcoming presidential election.
Overwhelming.
It has to be overwhelming is where I'm going with this thing. Yeah. It has to be overwhelming. And Ron DeSantis is not going to be overwhelming, because just by his existence, these Trump people are going to stay home. They're not. We have seen this proven by Rich and Barnes talking about this, showing these tickets further down, how nobody turns out unless Trump is on there with them, endorsing the guy, holding the cat's hand. It's just not going to happen. You could hate his guts. You could say whatever you want, but we're not living in some sort of Wizard of Oz hallucinatory world. This is the real world. And if you don't like them, hold your nose, do what you got to do, and get over it. Because you staying home is the same as you saying, I love Joe Biden. I want Brandon for a second term. And you're going to say, no, I don't. Well, have your little temper tantrum on your farm in Iowa and tell us how you feel when Biden gets sworn in for a second term, because you had a problem with Stormy Daniels. Give me a break.
Hey, this one just came in, but it's very related. Turns out the nuclear luggage thief was a member of the Sisters prior to getting hired by Biden.
That's true. That's absolutely true, Jim. Thank you. It, whatever it is going to jail in Maryland and is being sent to the male detention center. And I read their policy in the sheriff's office in Maryland, where he will be incarcerated, I believe, starting today. He's turned himself in. He's going to have to go to jail over this thing. I don't know the extent of the time, but they said they're putting him in the male detention center, and their rule is if you have male genitalia, you go into the male prison.
Sounds
and
fair.
if you have female, you go into the female prison. That's it. They don't care about all of your lipstick, paint, and everything else, and hair stuff. They don't care about that. If you have a penis, male prison; vagina, women's prison.
Right. And I'm guessing if somebody is dedicated enough that they had their bits removed, maybe they could go over, but it's not like they're going to impregnate somebody like other prisons have had a problem with.
Well, in California, it's a big problem because they, by the way, they did away with bail today. A judge here in Los Angeles Superior Court has ruled that bail itself is unconstitutional. So cashless bail, and we have a DA who has been releasing them anyway. This judge now made it official that bail itself on the face of the earth, on the planet, is unconstitutional on the planet of LA. So nobody has to post bail for any crime.
Do you wonder what's going to happen if a member of the judge's family gets harmed on these decisions? Do you ever wonder about that? Because I really do. It's like, I don't want to see city council have relatives harmed. I don't want anybody harmed. But there's a part of me that says it's got to be their kids that get caught up in something in order for change to happen. It's sort of like some of the drug policies never get visited unless we run into a situation where their kids dying of an overdose.
Speaking of Jeb Bush, you remember his daughter Jeb Bush had famously campaigned against rehabs and in favor of incarceration as governor of Florida until his own daughter was arrested. And he said she had to go to rehab. His own particular daughter down there, she was kiting scripts going from Rite Aid to CVS to Rite Aid to CVS to get Vicodin, and she was, forging prescriptions, got caught, and her father famously said, she's sick, she has to go to rehab.
Right, and let me see. Chief Smoke a Lot earlier wants at least one come on Bobby.
At the end, we'll do it to the end. So okay. We now have a situation where Nadler, who used to be my congressman on the Upper West Side, now I have a breath of fresh air here in LA. I've got Adam Schiff. So I used to have Fat Nadler when he weighed 350 pounds, and we used to see him waddling down Broadway, and he would just go up to everyone, go, "Hey, how's it going? How's everything? Jerry Nadler, how's it going?" He's now saying he doesn't care if jet fighters attack Russia, despite the repeated statements on the part of Russia that any attack on their sovereign land would be trigger a nuclear war. Nadler does not seem to care because he has had his stomach stapled and he cannot eat the fatty foods that he loves, and he's willing to die.
I see.
So he said he doesn't care that the F-16s, I think, is the jet that that Biden wants to give to the Ukrainians now. I guess it'll be flown by some sort of puppeteers. I don't know who's going to fly these jets, but they are launching drone attacks into Russian airspace and Russian urban airspace. And I'm telling you right now, this is going to lead to World War III if this continues and the Russians just feel that their airspace and their citizenry, it continues to get attacked, their sovereignty. And they have said repeatedly that they will launch nuclear weapons to protect the country of Russia. Apparently that's a big joke in the Biden administration. They just keep laughing and bringing in transgender people to run the nuclear waste management division and other weirdos. But nuclear war is a great leveler of the playing field for all of us. I mean, Nadler, as somebody pointed out, will go into a bunker, be able to live in a bunker when the nuclear weapons are flying. But Eric and I won't.
How different are these people than the generals during Kennedy? I'm curious. Well, they very much wanted to go attack the Soviet Union back then. So it's weird that we have these maniacs feasibly from the other side of the aisle, whatever you want to call it. But I find that very, very interesting that they're so
you don't hear it coming out of Miley or the Pentagon. You're hearing it coming out of the Democratic Party. which is a little bit disconcerting since their leader is in the White House with a nuclear suitcase sitting outside of his Oval Office. I mean, the Pentagon is not saying this. The Navy's not saying this. It's coming from one area of our political culture, and they may have a death wish. They may feel like if I can't live forever and I have to keep, by the way, they did away with booster shots yesterday. I don't know if you know this, because one of the things I've talked about for so long was, how long do we keep booster shots going mathematically? I kept wondering if they'd ever come up with a formula. So yesterday, quietly, they ended them. I don't know if you saw this little story, because mathematically, you would have to take them for the rest of your life based on their scientific paradigm. You need a booster. You need a booster. Well, why don't I need a booster now? No, you need another booster. Yesterday,
the ultimate profit center. Of course, that's what they want.
But now, even they couldn't explain it anymore. So they ended the boosters, I guess, yesterday. So.
Well, congratulations.
Well, I never got anything, so I don't really care.
I didn't either.
Yeah, both of us never got anything. I had to go into deep underground here because I am living in Berlin.
I had to get help from Barnes, but anyway.
Oh, right. I remember that. Yeah. Yeah.
I do.
I do
understand that.
We had phony IDs circulating around here in LA that we got ironically from China, with plastic envelopes to put them in and the whole thing. It's kind of an interesting operation to get into nightclub and shit.
Crazy. All right. Got a couple Rumble rants here.
So Rumble's back on now.
Well, Rumble seems like it's been limping the whole time.
Right.
I don't, some of this has been here for a while. Taytone wrote, have you noticed Disaster is calling them?
That's funny.
Is running his campaign like a governor's race. Wokeness, COVID, and abortion, all mostly state issues. Zero mention of foreign policy, trade, in China. Okay.
Well, he doesn't really have a foreign policy. Barnes has attacked him repeatedly for his lack of knowledge of foreign policy, for what it's worth, and also his voting record when he was a congressman. Robert has
which is really bad.
Right. Robert's pointed this out repeatedly. I mean, he's kind of like the conservative or right-wing Newsom. You know what I mean? Like, they seem to be the same exact guy in a lot of ways.
Standard conservative.
Whatever. No, but I'm saying, as a, guy who's a maverick, or someone who wants to be president, who's a governor of a large state, there's a lot of similarities between the two of them. They have a very high popularity rate in their states. By the way, I don't know if people realize this, but another guy announced his campaign yesterday for president, and that was Larry Elder.
We did.
Yeah, I guess he didn't go on Twitter Spaces or whatever. He probably did it, from his radio show. He's got a pretty big mouthpiece out here in LA, and he has a radio show and some other things that he does.
Yeah. Oh, I know Larry Elder well.
Yeah.
Let me see. Quadruple one Doug gave us a $20 Rumble rant. Suggestion for a future episode: Operation Gladio.
Okay.
I'm not familiar with it. And then we got some more tips in here. Gary W., this is back when we were talking. Gilbert had the best JFK assassination joke about the time he met Jackie O and decided to break the ice with the classic JFK question.
Which is what?
I don't know. That's literally the whole tip.
That's it?
Yeah, I'm like, what's the joke? I want the joke too. I think Gary W. may be typing. I don't know. I'll have to see if it.
Oh, maybe he's got more to it.
Maybe. But I'm like, huh? All right. Well, don't sue me.
That's the guy's name?
That is the user. Yes. Don't sue me. Charles Gasparino, breaking Wall Street execs backing Governor Ron DeSantis. Say he'll have unlimited funding. He's a fundraising machine and he will spend it. Oh, I'm sure he will spend it. But so
what?
I mean, how much did Hillary raise?
Yeah.
Anyway, Dr. Cole 22 sent a tip. Mark, where did you live in St. Thomas, U.S. Virgin Islands?
That's where I lived, in St. Thomas. Where's the exact building or something?
Maybe is there a part of town or something that you could say? I don't know.
Oh, I don't remember what exact. I was too high. I don't remember anything. It was.
He was living.
Somebody gave me my own condo, and they had a company that made the Love Swing, which was a series of furniture on springs made out of, I don't know, bamboo or some sort of mesh, and there was a bed, there was a couch, there was a interlocking chair where you put your legs interlocking with the other person. They sold them all in Penthouse, but they got arrested, and whoever the neighbors were gave their condo to me to live in for a year. I don't know what happened to them in terms of getting arrested, but I lived in the Love Swing condo, wherever that was, in St. Thomas, and we would go to the other islands, I remember, and we would catch whelks and we would spearfish walleyed fish and eat them, and lived off of whelks and walleyes. I mean, what else can I tell you? It was a quite delightful place to live. The U.S. Virgin Islands are really nice.
Hey,
and you could transfer your unemployment there. So that's
cool.
why I was there.
1111 Doug followed up saying Operation Gladio, U.S. stay behind program after World War II, left weapons behind to fight Soviets, but some got into hands of terrorists.
Right. I mean, it's a program that's a little bit out of our purview in terms of America's untold stories. It's more of an Eastern European propaganda battle. I think we've covered just about enough.
Cool by me.
Of what?
I said cool by me.
oh, cool by me. Right. Yeah. No, I know the program. I'm just saying it's a little bit out of our range. Is all I can say.
All right. Don't sue me. Said I'm a never Ryan Bush rover, so no DeSantis for me.
Mm-hmm. Dude, if you want those people back in power, if you want Ryan, if you want Rove, if you want the Bushes, vote for Ron DeSantis. That should be his bumper sticker. Now, the other bumper sticker for Trump should simply read, are you better off now than you were 4 years ago? And do not get in the weeds. Do not open your fat mouth.
Who was the first one who did that one?
I don't remember. It was Clinton, or was it? I don't remember where it came from.
Might have been. Wait, damn it. Was it Bush? Or no, I'm trying to think of who it was.
Yeah,
but
I don't remember.
It was very effective. And
yeah.
It might have been Reagan. Was that Reagan against Carter?
May have been Reagan against Carter. It is one of the most effective political slogans of all time. And all you have to say is, and I think Reagan did say it, as Eric has pointed out, are you better off now than you were 4 years ago? That's it. And anyone who says they are is a lying piece of shit. And if you're a lying piece of shit, then I can't help you. But if you believe you were better off then, voting for Ron DeSantis is not going to do that. And voting for Biden is not going to do that. And there's only one place to go. Whether you like him or not, I don't care if you like him. I got problems with the guy. It doesn't matter. Get pragmatic. Jesus Christ, do you want this to continue? Forget about what your wife thinks about his sex life. Who gives a crap? Yep. We're in a position right now where we're about to lose the entire republic. I don't care that people don't like his suntan. You know what I mean, Eric? Mm-hmm. It is what it is. This is the hand on the table. You got to play the hand that's on the table, not what you wish it would be. We'll have many other years that we can do that. Right now, this is the only hand. There's a reason he's being dragged into court every other day, folks, because they know he can win. There's a reason they want Ron DeSantis, is because they know he's a loser. Okay? Just think about that.
Totally agree. Rec 151, the DeSantis connection with Silicon Valley would make sense playing both sides against Trump. It's just another roadblock in his path, just as the multiple legal actions are. And I think you agree with that completely.
Yeah, I agree. I completely agree.
And
look, there's a people who drank the Kool-Aid on him, you know, which they call TDS, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's the TDS people, there's the brainwash people, there's the MK Ultra 2 people, as I'm calling them, with some MK Ultra program that's running now. We don't have time to deal with that. We have to do what we got to do. The 85 to 105 to 112 million, according to Rich Barris, who are out there to vote for this guy, that's what we got to do. And that's it. There's no debate. There's no wiggle room. This is what now, for this year, for upcoming election. I don't care about what's happening in 4 years. I don't care what happened 4 years ago. This is what we got to do now to take this country back. And you people who know what I'm talking about know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, no, definitely. Pasha with the reach back. I second the lights in your eyes thing. Not fun. And I've been on the stage too. I know it's not fun.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Fire Pixie is still voting Trump again.
Go Fire. Go fire.
Gino, DeSantis is the equivalent of a tribute band. Why go
That's
see
funny.
the tribute band if you can have the real thing?
You know what, Gino? That's brilliant. That's really funny. There was a miniature Kiss. There was a tiny dwarf Kiss band that was a Kiss cover band, and they were all dwarves. That's what this is. He's a Kiss dwarf.
Yeah, but
cover
that sounds
band.
more entertaining, though. I'm like, no, there's an added entertainment factor to that one.
Right. I think they were called Mini Kiss.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
But it makes you think of like Hershey's Kisses, the little candy.
Yeah, there's been a lot of these. It was like Creedence Clearwater Revisited.
Sure.
Right. It had like Fogerty's brother in it, and Elliot Easton was in it, playing lead guitar, who was a friend of mine who was the lead guitar player for the Cars, as you recall, the brilliant guitar player for the Cars. Mm-hmm. He then fronted a cover band, whatever. It's not a cover band technically. Yeah. It was a band that didn't have the legal name because of John Fogerty of Creedence Clearwater Revival.
The Guess Who's going through that? Because Burton Cummings and Randy Bachman tour together because they don't have the rights to the damn band that they created, the Guess Who. I think it was like the drummer or somebody wound up with that. And it's funny because you mentioned it's like there are some tribute bands that go by the name of the actual band.
Right.
And it's mind-blowing.
Well, I just want to give a shout out to the passing of Tina Turner, one of the great rock and soul singers of all time, who I saw at the peak of her tour. I think it was 1989, 88 at the Meadowlands in New Jersey with her big stage show. She then toured with the Rolling Stones a couple of years later, but just an amazing act. I never saw her with Ike, but that was an amazing thing with Ike Turner, the two of them. But her solo act, which was not a solo act, it had a large band in back of her with, big pyrotechnics. It was a big show. Absolutely amazing. She's going to be missed. One of the legends of rock, Tina Turner, who passed away yesterday in Switzerland, I presume from natural causes.
I think she was 83.
Yeah.
I've heard that Mick Jagger actually copied her moves.
That's absolutely true. And she was also in Mad Max Thunderdome, I believe.
Oh yeah.
Right? I got to look at that this weekend. But as we're talking
that's the
about
movie of the week. There you go.
No. My pick of the week is Wedding Crashers, because we're in such dark times. If you can find the uncorked edition, this has extras in it of Wedding Crashers, a classic comedy. I was looking at a couple of these 2013-ish comedies. It seemed to be around that time, Get 'Em to the Greek and some other ones that came out. We were watching the marijuana one, Pineapple Express. And This Is It, with a lot of these with James Franco and some of them have Jonah Hill, others have a different guy. McBride is in them. It's a whole group. And I got to tell you, man, are they funny. I mean, Pineapple Express holds up. These are 10 years old, and there seemed to be a little window of comedy time of politically incorrect comedies. Tropic Thunder, of course.
2008,
right. In that window, it's about a 5-year, 6-year.
Well, even more, because the late 90s had like the Farrelly brothers, who I believe or have dealt with.
Yeah.
I feel like it was a case that it just died.
Well, I thought about that this morning, and I think to myself, who was in power in 2013? Was that the second term of Obama? Yeah. Something happened in America where you're talking about second terms. Things began to change in his second term that changed the culture and the country quite a bit, because we never got back to that comedy wise. We never got back to it politically. We never got back to it. The movies that are coming out now are unwatchable. They're so strangled by political correctness, but it all begins in his second term of office, for better or for worse.
No, I could totally see that. I agree. And that's when things started to shift online. That's when the right wing learned how to meme at the same time. So that was incredible,
like I said yesterday, I mean, Julian Assange, interestingly enough, RFK was asked what his first act of office would be. His first act of office if elected president. And he said, without skipping a beat, pardoning of Julian Assange.
Wow.
I was surprised to hear that, really surprised. Now, he is going to die in a London jail, which is what they want. They want him to die. They don't want to transfer him here. He's hanging on, and they want to kill him by unnatural causes, of course, because he's incarcerated illegally. It's a hot potato. Nobody wants to touch it, but maybe they would if he gets a second term, Biden, just to put the nails in the coffin if the guy's still alive. But
have you seen him? I wonder if he doesn't even have to be dead. His health and everything is in such bad shape that they might just make him completely insane and get this.
Right. Okay. So we talked about that with Bradley Manning, who went insane, right? Manning tried to commit suicide after getting out. Oh, I'm sorry. Bradley Manning tried to commit Harry Carey after getting out. So, and we saw it with a couple of these other political prisoners, like in January 6th and some of the other things. But there's one guy who made the right move. There's one guy who didn't cooperate, who made the right move.
Snowden.
That's right. And he goes to dinner every night with his wife in a Muscovite restaurant, lives in a nice apartment building. He does, video appearances for money. He does different speaking engagements, whatever he does on video. And here was a guy who outsmarted them. And remember when Obama forced down the plane of Morales, the president of Bolivia, at gunpoint? He forced down the president's private plane, believing that Snowden was on that plane. I never forgot that. And Snowden outsmarted him. And so did Morales, the president of Bolivia. And Snowden was in Moscow, in the Moscow airport. And then whatever happened. So you talk about making the right move of not cooperating. Snowden didn't cooperate, but he had an exit strategy. And Assange was just tracked down like a hunted animal using all kinds of illegal means and violations of embassies and everything else, to catch him. And this guy now who's facing all these different trials in New York, I mean, like I said, their goal is to get him into Rikers Island, whether it's a violation, contempt of court for speaking about the case, or whatever it is. They're going to tie him up physically in the courtroom. And if there's contempt of court, he will be incarcerated in Rikers Island.
Or, you could always use Spain or something like another figure who.
Oh, that's right. McAfee, you talking about?
Yeah, John McAfee.
McAfee, I'm sorry. Yeah.
His body still hasn't been produced.
Right. And his crypto code was never produced. Was it, Hunley?
Nobody knows anything.
Yeah. Yeah. Very interesting. When the deep state comes after you, they come after you.
Yeah, they do. And I interviewed him actually while he was on the run, and he was talking about the CIA and how they were chasing him out of Cuba.
I'm sure they were.
He said that here's the funny part. Cuba kicked him out because the CIA told them. And so I didn't realize that cooperation was there. And he was like, "Oh yeah."
Well, it could be a lot of things where they free one of their spies. You know what I mean? As a trade-off.
It could be, but he
like
said
what's McAfee to the Cubans? Nothing.
Yeah, not much.
Well, I just wanted to mention this thing about the medicine cabinets that we have in the United States. The medicine cabinet, and I don't know, I'm just going to put this out there because mine is so full I can't put anything more in there. So when I was growing up, these products were in everybody's medicine cabinet of everybody I knew. Pepto-Bismol, aspirin, calamine lotion, and kaopeptide. That was all that was in my parents' medicine cabinet. Today, I had a laugh because I looked in mine and there was 80,000 different products in there. That industry, which is why I'm telling you the story, that industry has mushroomed into like a mega billion-dollar industry of stuff that goes in your medicine cabinet. And when I was growing up, there was literally Pepto-Bismol, aspirin, calamine lotion, kaopeptide, and people know what I'm talking about. Mercurochrome and iodine. Right. Yeah. I'll take that back. And maybe some cotton. Yeah. And Q-tips. I'll put that in there. If anybody could think of anything else in the chat that was in that medicine cabinet, speak now or forever hold your peace. Because
Alka-Seltzer possibly. But
Alka-Seltzer possibly. Right. I'll throw that in there. Because right now I need a medicine cabinet to put the stuff in my medicine cabinet into another medicine cabinet. Because
you have a Carlin problem with the medicine cabinet.
I need another medicine cabinet. Now, that being said, there's people running around and open houses looking in people's medicine cabinets who used to be on Friends, for instance.
Band-Aids, yeah.
Band-Aid's a good one.
And razors are another good one.
well, everybody had an electric razor in my family, so they didn't have those. But they did have a razor blade because the women used to shave their legs.
Oh,
So
Vicks Vapor Rub and
Vapor Rub. Thank you. Vicks Vapor Rub on the team now. Thank you. That was a good one. Yeah, Matthew Perry said in his memoirs recently, he would go to open houses around LA just to go to the medicine cabinet and get Vicodin out or painkillers in there and then leave. And they go, look, it's Matthew Perry, honey. You think he's going to buy the house? What is he leaving so quickly for? And I thought about that because medicine cabinets are unsecured. There's no lock on a medicine cabinet. I always thought that was crazy. Like, why isn't there a lock on your medicine cabinet?
Oh, good point. Well, this is my
witch hazel.
That's my favorite because my wife,
thanks, Chris.
Leslie, believes in witch hazel. That is her cure-all. If I had a sucking chest wound, she would apply witch hazel to it.
My grandfather loved witch hazel. He used it as aftershave.
Oh, well, she uses it for if there's a nick or an injury, she chases me around.
So what do we have? We have about 12 products totally, right? About 12.
No, something like that. I don't know. Nowhere near what we did.
I have 3 medicine cabinets filled with product under the sink, above the sink, and above the toilet, which leads me to the story of putting my phone in the medicine cabinet while I'm talking to Hunley the other day.
Oh.
And the toilet was filled with stuff I won't describe. And Hunley, the phone and everything else that's in that medicine cabinet at one point or another has fallen out of the medicine cabinet into the toilet. Okay. So I'm on the phone with Hunley and I put it in the medicine cabinet. It falls into the toilet. Hunley's still talking under the water that's got stuff floating in it. And I panicked and plunged my hand in there and pulled it out, dried it off, and then took out a hair blower and ran it over the phone, the iPhone, to make sure it didn't melt down. Hunley later told me I had another 6 hours to do this, which I wish I would have known beforehand.
But you get the good story now.
No, it's not a question of a good story. I freaked out, and the stuff that was in that toilet should not have been involved with the phone or my hands, but I just panicked, Eric. I just panicked.
Well, we know what you think of our conversations. I get it.
Right. So I see the phone gets hung up, and I see Hunley calling back underwater. Like, well,
because okay, you got to understand my end. I hear this just weird noise and a couple beeps, and I'm like, okay, well, Mark can be kind of abrupt. Like, yeah, okay, bye. But I'm like, that's a little more abrupt. And I'm like, should I ask if he's okay? So
right, but I couldn't text you back. I saw the text underwater, and it says like, "Are you okay?" But the text was underwater, Hunley, at that point. And then you told me that the iPhone can last under 6 feet of water or something?
Yeah, it's about 6 feet for maybe 30 minutes. I believe is the rating.
Okay, well, this was half a foot for 30 seconds. So it seems to be okay, but I bought a new phone anyway. I'm shipping this one to the Philippines, and I'm not going to mention the incident. I'm just going to unload it.
A new phone with less fecal matter.
Yeah, I'm not going to mention that in the sale of the phone. So I appreciate your information about how long I really did have to get that phone out of there. I could have done a lot of different. I could have gotten a fishnet or whatever, you know.
And it's good that you're keeping it quiet about the phone, you know, before you trade it in. That nobody here tell anybody about this, okay? Because can't let that out. He's got to trade this in.
I had a girlfriend making a salad last night. She found an inchworm in the salad. She puts it on the coffee table. And she names it Slinky, and became our pet for over 3 hours until I took Slinky out into the yard and gave Slinky his entire own universe. She was already making it into a pet by 7 o'clock. There was which could happen, caterpillars in a giant thing of lettuce, could happen. And so I said, you got to wash the lettuce. And that's what came out in the rinsing of the lettuce there was a caterpillar. And his name was Slinky. He immediately had a name and a lifestyle, and he was on the coffee table having a life. And I, at one point, gently asked, would you mind if I put Slinky outside so he could be with the plants and the grass and have a life? And she said, no, it's okay. So I had to take Slinky outside, and he's apparently okay now, living out in the garden.
Okay. And I'm sure that you, in the very spirit of things, you made sure that Slinky was carefully placed in the garden. You found a nice blade of grass and nestled him, right?
First of all, it was dark out, and Slinky was on a paper towel, so I had to fling Slinky.
Okay, there we go.
In midair. Slinky got flung in midair and ended up, I think, in the garden where he lives today. At this time,
Happily.
Right. I'll tell you something we used to do in New York was we had those glue traps for mice, and when you caught a mouse on a glue trap, it was still alive. So the tradition was to fling it out the window onto the street. And then you would hear girls screaming a couple of minutes later as they stepped on it or saw the squirming mouse on the sidewalk, wherever your apartment was in New York. The mouse would then be on a glue trap on the sidewalk outside. Don't ask me why we did it. A tradition as old as time, like throwing your old sneakers over the electrical lines above the street. That was another thing that everybody did. You tied your old sneakers together, flung them up in the air, and you'd see hundreds of pairs of old sneakers all around New York. On electrical wires around the city. There are certain things that are traditional in New York, those two being two of them.
Wow.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm sorry, but I didn't make it up. I was just the person carrying on a tradition as old as time itself.
All right. Oh, hey, we got the Jackie O joke in.
Which is
I
think I know this.
Where were you and what were you doing?
Oh, right. I forgot. Right. That's right. You know, I did meet her with Ratso one time. It's me and Ratso and I think Dave Hansen, whose mother ran Leg Show magazine upstairs above National Lampoon. She ran, again, I can't make this up. Diane Hansen was the publisher of Leg Show magazine, Dave Hansen's mother. And Dave Hansen went on to write for Letterman and then Leno. But I think the three of us went to the Egyptian embassy for a book signing of a book that Jackie Onassis's company was publishing, and she was there having a book signing party. And she kept looking at us like we were the most dangerous three people in the room, me and Ratso and Hansen. We didn't fit in. Let me put that. We weren't wearing suits and ties. We looked disreputable. Let me just put it that way. And it made her very nervous, Eric. But we did get to meet her, and that was the only time I met Jackie Onassis.
Oh, good. So you got to meet her when you were making her nervous. That's
well, I couldn't help that. I mean, we just kept laughing. Maybe we were on the stuff or something, but there was something that we were laughing about, and that made her nervous.
I'm sure.
I mean, we were in the Egyptian embassy. I don't know why we were in the Egyptian embassy. Ratso didn't like it. I didn't like it. Hansen didn't care. But it was a little weird that the event was in the Egyptian embassy.
All right, well, we got a bunch of tips that are in here and a bunch of super chats. Filament said the DNC is going to ignore an insult. I think he means RFK Jr. to the point he's forced to go independent.
Well, he said he's assuring us his family has too deep Democratic roots to do that. And I have to take him at his word at this point. My question is, how does he get to speak at the convention? And the answer is he doesn't. And the question is, then what happens?
Yeah, we'll find out.
Yeah.
Rec 151 said, correct, Mark. Ron DeBush, you're on target again. Gary W., I told you the joke. USSR shopping cart said, how do we get around regular debates and get Tucker to host a way early debate between RFK Jr. and Trump that is contractually 10% debate between them and 90% bashing the establishment? I don't think that's going to happen.
It's not going to happen. But I mean, all you do is invite them to an event for a debate. That's all. I mean, you don't have to give them any ground rules like that. I mean, you have to have some sort of structure to a debate and a host. That's all.
Yeah. Bruce Sport apparently didn't like your movie recommendation. Sorry, I watched seconds that you recommended, and it's 2 hours of my life that I'll never get back.
Dude, you're living in a weird world. It's one of the classic paranoid thrillers of all time. I'm sorry you didn't like it, bro. It's John Frankenheimer. You better revisit your film choices.
All right. D.S. Hogan once saw a very detailed documentary with Ruth Payne and her husband involved with channeling with some wealthy elites. Super detailed. Any of this in her past?
Yeah, give me the super details that you're talking about. You saw a very detailed documentary with no name with Ruth Payne and her husband involving something from another planet and wealthy elites. Thank you for your super details. I mean,
right. It could be Max. God, I always forget his last name. Max Goods.
Yeah,
that covered a lot of it. It was very detailed, good documentary.
Okay, but
maybe
okay. Is that what he's talking? Is that the one he's talking about?
I don't know.
There's only one documentary about Ruth Payne, and that's Max Good's documentary.
As far as I know, yeah, and it's very good. We've had him on, and we've got another interview with him coming up.
2 episodes about it.
Tarkina Meyer, so glad to see Clayton Kershaw announce the Christian Faith and Family Day on 7:30 at Dodger Stadium. I'm
Wow,
sure
I
the
didn't
woke
know
left
that. I
will
didn't know
protest
that.
that and demand it be
Wow.
shut down.
That's news to me. I'm glad to hear that. I was thinking about Clayton Kershaw when this debacle occurred. I was also thinking about Vin Scully, who was a very conservative Catholic, and Lasorda that I mentioned, but I did not. I was thinking last week about Clayton Kershaw, who's a very devout Christian. And if that's true, that's an interesting development. That's very interesting because it's less than 2 weeks after the event, 7:30. The event. I mean, that's a month after the event. The event will be June 16th. That's July 30th. So that is going to be very interesting.
Well, good on them.
Nobody could protest against Clayton Kershaw, so that's not going to happen. Just to answer that part of it. But
ever met a truly happy person who became a destructive addict? Please do one episode examining the main points of the RFK conspiracy opponents.
I don't understand this. Hold on. Is that a question? Okay. Ever met a truly happy? Yeah, tons of people. I know tons of people like that. Please do one episode. We've done 2 episodes on Ciron. 3. Boris, take a look at our library.
Yeah,
there's 3 episodes on what you're asking about. And as for the destructive addict, I mean, we reference that a lot in a number of episodes. So thanks. But thank you for that.
Yeah,
thank you for the super chat, more importantly.
Dina, $4.99. Thank you, Dina.
Dina. She's a regular.
Oh, yeah. Leo Bottenhausen, do you fear that Dominion COVID will run in 2024?
I guess that's kind of a joke. Dominion COVID. I don't know what their influence is going to have in 2024. I don't, is there going to be lockdowns? Is there going to be masks? Is there going to be an attempt to have mail-in ballots again? I don't know. I think the Achilles heel that we saw from Kerry Lake's case is the physically looking at the signature matching. They refuse in every single case to put the 2 signatures up on a screen. They try every single legal mumbo jumbo to avoid the one Achilles heel of their electioneering and stealing of elections. And that's the comparison of the physical signatures.
I've got another one.
Yeah.
All absentee ballots have to be counted by election day, and that's it. No, they are determined on that day beforehand. No counting into the next week. No counting 3 weeks later. Nothing coming in from the mail. Everything has to be received and already counted by that date.
That's wishful thinking, but
I think it is that way in Florida.
The courts have ruled consistently on various levels of that thing. What I'm saying is, if you're going to have a case or a trial after the fact, all you have to do is analyze signatures, the 2 signatures, to see if the ballot is admissible or not. That's it. You don't have to say when it came in, when it was counted, whatever. Just take the actual 2 signatures, put them up on a screen, and ask a jury to say if that's matchable. They wouldn't do it. You're more cynical than me? That's hard to believe.
Well, because I don't believe in the after the fact. I feel like if it doesn't come through overwhelmingly, just like we talked about earlier, after the fact, you're not going to turn it or flip it or anything.
Barnes has pointed out, in your home state of Arizona, they have traditionally and have flipped elections on numerous occasions based on a post-election court case, which is what Robert was hoping was going to happen here, except for the one thing he didn't foresee, which was the avoidance of the actual comparison of the signatures in her case. So that would have thrown out X amount of ballots and given her the election, is all I'm saying. All right. But they wouldn't let that happen. They came up with a pseudo formula, which they brilliantly come up with these things, where they said that a man looked at 100,000 signatures for a millisecond, and that was good enough.
All right. We got a $20 either super sticker or tip from TB. Thank you very much.
Just want to tell you something. This may be a consistent storyline, but I've heard this before. A guy named Edwin Castro here in LA. I got a couple of complaints about this whole story, but Edwin Castro won the Powerball Lotto, Eric, not for $2 million, which would have been enough. He won it for $2 billion, $2 billion, because the fact that one man gets $2 billion is, of course, helps society a great deal. So he takes the $1,997,000,000 to be exact, and he buys himself two $25 million homes in the Hollywood Hills, begins to party, gets a vintage Porsche, and now a guy named Jose Rivera, sounds like he plays for the Yankees, says the ticket, of course, was stolen from him. He's now filed. You've heard of these before, right? This story.
Common.
Right. I know. That's why I'm mentioning the story, because it's happening again. He filed a case against Edwin Castro, saying he stole the ticket from him, the winning ticket, and it's going to go to court and blah, 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 blah. But I didn't even care that much about that. What I cared about is the fact that they have a $2 billion winner, instead of spreading that out over 100 people and altering the lives of 100 people or 1,000 people. They are going to let this maniac have the winnings, and obviously he's going to party to death, and he's going to die in a flame and coke induced coma or whatever he's going to do up there. But he took the early full payout, Eric, which I'm sure you would do too. He took I know, I'm teasing. He took $997 million and bought two $25 million. If you saw the houses, they're unbelievable up in the Hollywood Hills. And I thought where he bought them and the amount of them indicates to me that this guy's going to go out in a ball of fire, right? So his friend, Jose Rivera, may be doing him a favor if he can be successful in this court case against his friend, Edwin Castro. So it's Rivera versus Castro in this battle of the Powerball winners. But again, my single complaint is this mega one winner takes all insanity instead of spreading it out to, 5,000 people getting $1 million. You know what I mean?
No, I totally.
I know that sounds insane, but but one guy getting $2 billion doesn't really help the community, in my humble opinion.
Well, I don't think the lottery helps anybody.
Well, they say the money goes to education, so that in
I
don't know if that's true, but I mean,
yeah, no.
You're so sorry. You're so negative, Hunley. I can't even.
What are you, Sister Mary Sunshine?
No, but I expect you to be upbeat to counter my negativity. But now if you're going negative, I got to go upbeat.
Oh, which I like. And it makes you uncomfortable. So that's a double win.
Right.
All right. Cool guy 2014. If Biden wins in 2024, thoughts on 2028 candidates? If we survive to 2028.
If we make it that long, it's going to be a wide open field of DeSantis and Newsom and others, the guy, the mayor in New York, my mother will come out. I mean, it'll be everybody. RFK Jr. again, I think, maybe if he wants to run again. I mean, again,
he's been too old then.
Again, well, he's 68 now. I mean,
well, I know.
Based on current standards. Well,
maybe Feinstein will be ready.
Is she alive? Is she technically alive? Because there's rumors that she's, complete Weekend at Bernie's 3 at this point, that she's not even alive, Eric. I mean, I hate to put a damper on the former mayor of San Francisco, but at some point, when is enough enough? When is enough enough? I mean, don't you have grandchildren or that you want to be with? For the love of God, aren't there things you want to do at the very end
it's like
of
Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
Right.
Same thing. I mean,
what is it? What is it about
clinging? Because it's not about serving; it's about having that power. That's the end point.
But I'm saying one of the things that's in my head all the time now is a clock ticking. Time becomes more valuable as you get older, but not to these people. You would think that they want to be with their loved ones. Go out on the beach, go on a trip, stay at home.
You assume that they love people, Mark.
Well, I don't know. It just seems insane. They have husbands, they have grandchildren, they have family, some of them very large. I don't know. What happened to Paul Pelosi? Did he ever survive that attack? Whatever happened to that case? Whatever happened to, where's that guy, the attacker? Was he put into an MK Ultra facility? I mean, there's stories that
in MK Ultra beforehand.
Right. There's stories. There are stories that have no end in this culture anymore. That there's no follow up by the LA Times, or the New York Times for that matter.
All right. Well, here's the late one. Cool Guy 2014. Mark, any suit/tailor recommendations for suit?
Yeah, just go custom, bro. I mean, whatever you do, go custom. Don't go off the rack. That's my recommendation. Yeah, I mean, you got to go custom.
Berry Cream, yes, please. Honestly, Trump should play the October 2020 presidential debate and model his campaign after that.
Okay. I mean, you could play the debate if you want. It's going to sound a little weird because of the different issues. But all I'm saying is, are you better off now than you were 4 years ago?
Well, what I like most about that is, one, it's an incredibly wide, strong sentiment.
Yep.
Two, it fits on a bumper sticker. And people can't think beyond a bumper sticker anyway.
No. That's why I'm saying it.
Slogan.
Right. I mean, look at the slogan. I know Barnes put up the slogan that DeSantis came out with, and he was mocking it, saying, how many think tanks or how many, groups did you have to test this on? Some word salad mumbo jumbo that meant nothing. But what doesn't mean nothing is, are you better off now than you were 4 years ago? It's a very simple question. I think I would love to ask that of the people running for and against Biden. Are you better off now than you were 4 years ago? No. I mean, the answer is no, I'm not better off now than I was 4 years ago. That's it. There's only one answer. What's the solution?
Yeah. I mean, let me see. Pasha Moyer, you said RDS is a standard conservative, so neither a miniature conservative nor a toy conservative.
Who's RDS?
Yes, Ron DeSantis. Yeah.
Oh, you said
he
he
was mocking me. Yeah. Rhino, whatever you want to call him.
Oh, I don't know what do you want to call him.
I mean,
he's certainly not a populist, is the point.
No, that's what I was saying. So standard conservative that you would see going out there. Hannity would hang out with them and have coffee. They get along great. Roger LaRue, when have you done a piece on the Bush Klan? Not yet.
I don't know about a piece on the Bush Klan. I don't know that's just a generic phrase.
Well, we haven't done a show on the Bush Klan.
What's a show on the Bush Klan? I mean, about a particular subject, you mean, or?
I think the Bush family, like
a show on the whole Bush family, or that's crazy.
Yeah. So they do come up here and there, but not as their own individual subject.
Right.
BTK, save the constitutional republic vote, act, lead, sacrifice, effort.
Okay.
All right. Rags Yule. Hi from Montreal. Love your show. Thanks for all the great topics.
I loved Montreal. I told this to the Vivas when I was visiting the Vivas down in Vivaville, that I used to go to the Montreal Comedy Festival, look for talent every summer when I was producing comedy for HBO. And I loved Montreal, and I loved going up there. They were so rude; it was wonderful. Especially the French police, the French-speaking police, made me really feel at home. But it's like going to France in a weird way. If you're from New York, Montreal is not that crazy of a leap to go by train, which a lot of us did.
Mm-hmm. No, it's awesome. Got to pee a lot. What do you think of pulling a dim ballot in primary and voting Kennedy if you lived in Massachusetts? Sure.
What do you think of pulling a dim ballot? What is pulling a dim ballot, Eric?
Voting for the other party. If the person's a Republican, to help.
Well, some of them have open primaries.
Yeah.
Some don't. I mean, it depends if you have an open primary state.
Yes.
Right. Well, you can, and that's what Barnes is recommending.
Yeah, strategic as
strategic as fuck, and that's kind of what I am trying to do. What Robert said, because that would undermine Biden. You know what I mean, and disrupt their system over there. So it is pragmatic in a lot of ways. I mean, there's not everything.
I go in further too. It's a legitimate vote too, in the sense that you really don't want Biden. You think Kennedy is a vast improvement, so helping him win is automatically better.
I'll just tell you, I'm a registered Democrat here, and I'm going to be voting in the June 4th primary for RFK Jr. For that purpose, of disruption. So I'm going to do what I got to do here. I'm in a one-party state, so.
Yeah, well, yeah, it doesn't count. Scott Benbow with a $10 super sticker.
Benbow. Might be Benbow.
Could be. Benbow. Don't know. Leo Battenhausen. What do you guys think of Pee Wee Herman and or Bob Dylan's show, Mark, I'm really rolling on the floor tonight. You're cracking me up. Keep it
Wait
up,
a second.
buddy.
Wait a second. Is Pee Wee Herman opening up for Dylan? Or
No, I think he's saying doing a show on Pee Wee Herman. We will be doing a Bob Dylan show. That's on
yeah.
the list.
We're definitely going to do a Dylan show. Yeah, Pee Wee
Harlan
Herman.
Herman,
Not
Paul
so
Rubens.
much.
I don't know if there's
Not
enough.
so much. Not so much. I mean, a friend of mine was his art director. But yeah, I mean, he's a weird dude, man. I mean, look, I mean, he's like a perverted Mr. Rogers, you know, in a lot of ways. But Mr. Rogers may have been a pervert for all I know.
Maybe.
You know, who could tell with these people anymore?
Georgina's back again with
She's back again. Okay, hold on.
Rubbing alcohol.
Peroxide, yes. Rubbing
Yes,
alcohol, yes. I'm going to go yes. Vic Vapor Rub, yes. 3 for 3.
And
you
if
know
not
what?
rubbing alcohol, isopropyl alcohol, one or the other.
Or witch hazel.
Or which is, yeah, they're all pretty interchangeable.
You know what was a breakthrough after a while? Chapstick came in there. There was chapstick.
So it's all led by chapstick. The invasion was led
No,
by
chapstick came later. Well, that might have been, it might have been the canary in the coal mine, but there was some lipstick, but I think the women did not put that cosmetics in the medicine cabinet.
No, they have purses.
They had a purse for that, right? A thing called a purse.
Mhm.
And my mother had a thing called Laredo. I don't know if anyone remembers Laredo. Laredo was a little plastic machine that you put tobacco in and it rolled a cigarette.
Ooh.
It was called Laredo. And again, it was some phase my mother went through before she stopped smoking. But I remember that thinking, I could put pot in there and roll a joint, but she'd probably catch me. She would smell it. I didn't want to get caught. But Laredo was a cigarette rolling machine for people who didn't want to buy regular brands.
Hey, smart. We'll probably save money. Vince Duggar. Worn tennis shoes thrown over a power line can also denote a drug house, according to some street pundits.
Nah, that's that's their own doing it. I mean, the throwing over of the sneakers, it goes back to the 1920s, in New York. So I mean, there could be some detonation of showing, go buy the 5 pair of sneakers where the house is or something. That's a separate thing.
Okay, Lisa Faltersack for me. Interview Aaron Smith-Levin on Scientology. I'm working on getting Mike Render. I don't know if I don't want to be all Scientology, so I'll do a couple more maybe, but we'll see. I might interview him, might not. Don't know. Mark Geisen. If Biden wins again, do odds of nuclear war go way up?
I think they go way up every day that he's in power. I mean, he's giving out F-16s now. I mean, that's this week. I mean, every day that he's in there, it goes up. Remember they used to have that ticking clock, the atomic clock.
Yeah, no, to midnight.
Midnight,
it's like
the Concerned Scientists, the Union of Concerned Scientists. I think it's sitting up on the 12. Both hands are up there on the 12. At some point, because they could launch a strike right now to end this thing. I mean, how many casualties and destruction do they have to take before they fight back? Before they take their other hand out from behind their back? I mean, what is the deal here?
Yeah, good question. I got a couple Rumble rants I want to get to. Krabby T. Girth. Hello, guys. It's been a while. I concur with you guys. Voting in 2024 is a simple decision.
Yeah.
Trump.
Yeah.
Unlike 2012, that was like selecting between herpes or syphilis.
That's funny.
Krabby T. Girth again. Sorry for missing you guys live. I've been busier than a one-armed paper hanger with the crabs.
That's funny.
Any news on Mothman?
No news on Mothman, so that's going to have to wait.
Definitely not this year. I can't see that happening this year.
Unless there's a Mothman down in Alabama. What is there a creature down there that we don't know about?
I'm not sure, but I mean, to put it out there, I can't see it being before spring, summer 2024 at the earliest. And I don't know if that
hello, darkness, my old friend.
I don't know, dude. You see it? We've got a
hold on. There's a break in the action. There's a break in the action for our sponsor, Heroes of the Blues. Today's hero of the blues, the legendary Skip James. There he is, today's Heroes of the Blues. Skip James. We're going to give you a little background on Skip James. Nehemiah Skip James, born in 1902, raised in Betonia, Mississippi, learned guitar in his late teens as a local player, Henry Stuckey, and began piano soon afterwards under the tutelage of the older Arkansas performer, Will Crabtree. A professional bluesman from 1924 onwards, James recorded 17 signs for Paramount in 1931 and entered the clergy the same year. His I'm So Glad became a rock hit shortly before his death in 1969. And that's how people know Skip James is really that rock hit, which was covered by a lot of different bands. So today's hero of the blues, Skip James. Thank you.
All right. Well, Chris Dijongoros, I don't know if I'm saying it right.
Cyprus, where they either hate dogs or love dogs. I'm not,
which is the same thing every time. Thanks for the super chat. He'll keep repeating.
Okay, because I get one of them hates dogs, and I don't know if it's Greece or Cyprus.
Well, I think
they hate each
Cyprus
other.
Right. I think Cyprus likes dogs, but
Cats.
I don't remember. But you'll keep saying it.
Right. It's the one thing I learned when I go to Greece is either they hate dogs or they love dogs, and they know they hate Cyprus. So it's one or the other.
All right, Blaine in. Mark, please tell me Donald J. Trump would make wiser choices for the people close to him in a second administration.
What's it to you, bro? What's your choice? What's your choice? Is that what you want? That's a deal breaker, bro. I mean, what's the point? I mean, just think about the natural learning curve. You think he's going to make the same mistakes again? Well, he'll still make mistakes, sure. Mm-hmm. But what is your choice? You don't like that he picked McMaster as what was McMaster doing, Eric? He was a security advisor or someone, or there was some. He had the other general he picked. We had to get rid of whatever. Yeah. Right. I mean, not Flynn. The guy that he got rid of originally turned on him. The ones who turned on him later, not Flynn. I'm talking about the guys he got rid of. Yeah. Or even Sessions, or even the fat attorney
Christie.
general. Not Christie.
Barr.
Right. Okay. So he got snookered. What does that mean? He's out because he got snookered? I mean, again, you have to think it through. I'm not to belittle this guy at all. What are the choices? What again? It's simple logic at this point. Is he going to learn? Yeah, he's going to improve. Was he out there on a limb by himself? Yeah. I mean, what do you think is going to happen when you don't have a political party, when you're a maverick? You think everyone's going to encircle you and go, I'm with you. He had no one who owed him any favors. He had no blackmail that he did on these people. He had been a Democrat for many years, as many people in New York are well aware. He had donated to both parties for many, many years. And now he was the man in there by himself with no experience. That being said, the economy was booming and we had no war. It's two things we can't say anymore. And those are two big, important things to me personally.
I get your point.
Yeah. Well, it's just because I hear this all the time. What about this? What about the vaccine? What about it? What about it? You want to go back in time and say, I can't vote for him because he did A, B, C, D, or E? Okay. How does that help us? How does that help us, bro? It doesn't help us. We have a limited window here with limited people to choose from. That's the reality of it. Nobody's coming from a Plan 9 from outer space to save our fat, lazy asses. This guy got off the couch at one point and said, I got to do this myself. And believe me, he wasn't happy about doing it. This guy, who became the president, when he came down the balcony, believe me.
He's the only one, I think, who's lost money over the time.
Well, he didn't take a salary, just like JFK didn't take a salary.
Well, that's nothing. But I'm just saying he has lost literally fortune by doing this.
Okay.
Versus
whatever.
Obama who gets rich.
Oh, completely the opposite. And the current crime commissioner there, who's in there now, commissioner of crime himself. But the reality of it is, if you think it through, there's no other choice. I'll just leave it at that.
All right. Jesus, really enjoy the show. Always tune in for every episode. What do you think the outcome will be for the writer's strike? Are they screwing themselves?
Well, that being said, I think the studios will eventually buckle because they simply always have in the past. And they have a legitimate gripe, the writers, because of the streaming services not paying residuals. It's not, look, I'm a Writers Guild member. It's not like, I'm opposed to the strike or anything. But the reality of it is, in the last strike, this was left on the table, and they said it wasn't going to amount to much. And of course, everybody knew it was, and they kicked the can down the road. They had 10, 15 years to resolve this. They didn't. And now they got to come up with some sort of formula for residuals for streamers. That's just so people know at home what's going on. There's there's people in front of the gates of the studios around the city here. That's about the extent of it. And we don't have to watch Stephen Colbert or the other
So
two
there-
knuckleheads. No, it's the greatest
by
period
the
of
way,
time.
it gives us audience.
Yeah.
YouTubers, thank you.
Yeah.
We're very happy. It brings in people. Thank you very much.
I saw a car yesterday across the street from my house, a brand new Tesla, and the license plate, California plate, said YouTuber.
Nice.
Yeah, that was kind of funny. Yeah.
All right, Alex Davy Duke. Hi, Mark. I didn't hear which Frankenheimer movie you recommended.
Well, I
Perhaps
recommend
it's-
all of them, but this cat was talking about Seconds, that particular movie with Rock Hudson, which is a brilliant, paranoid, change of life, political science fiction movie called Seconds. But
There's more. I'm getting to
sorry.
it.
Go ahead.
Perhaps it's unhinging, like a movie by Roman Polanski in 1976. The Tenant is almost allegory of the current insanity. Danger, don't watch while on acid.
Right. The Tenant, another great movie by Roman Polanski. I recommend that in a heartbeat. That's a great, great film, or anything by Polanski for that matter. There's the one also, there's a couple of Polanski films, A Knife in the Water. And
Don't let your daughter date him, but he's a good director.
wait a minute. What are you trying to say?
I don't know. Allegedly.
He directed something called Chinatown, by the way.
Yes, he did. Vince Duggar, what is your latest theory on Bob Saget's demise? Hasn't changed.
Booster, I guess, right? Shot.
Something
Yeah.
happened. He hit his head, probably on a tub, in my opinion. And
Yeah,
boom,
Booster.
he's gone.
Booster. What happened like with all the other people who fell down?
All the comedians that coincidentally and people on stage also falling
Yeah.
down.
What Drew, I talked to Dr. Drew yesterday. I'm going to be on his show in the near future, but he had told me that he believes it's a complete collapse of your blood pressure super quickly. For whatever reason, the reason they're collapsing is your blood pressure is collapsing out of the blue, and I mean collapsing. Just like plummeting.
It just shuts down for a second, much like a
right,
knocked out.
Right.
It's probably similar to like a chokehold or something when it cuts off. To the
Right, but this
brain.
is with no notice, Eric. It's just all of a
yeah.
sudden your blood pressure collapses and you collapse. That's why you're hitting the ground.
But we're not giving any advice. It's the safest thing ever.
No, I'm not talking about the thing that causes it. I'm just talking about the event that happens.
Right.
It looks to be a complete collapse of blood pressure inside of your system.
Yeah. Yeah. Jonathan G94 also gave us a tip with the same statement. Imagine playing Russian roulette with Alec Baldwin and Dick Cheney.
Well, I'll tell you something. There was an incident called Kent State that happened where the students were killed by the National Guard in Ohio, and the dean of the school kind of exacerbated it, and he didn't put a very good lid on the situation, and he dealt with the situation very badly, in history's opinion, my opinion, and allow these students to run rampant through the campus. They're making a movie of Kent State, and the dean is being played by Alec Baldwin.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that. Of course. Love it.
Yeah.
Hopefully Neil Young's on the soundtrack, right? Sci-fi. Love you guys. Keep up the good work. Thank you very, very much. Greg Capella. Glad to hear you're a Trump supporter.
Well, again, I'm a pragmatic political person. I would support RFK, all things being equal, if A, he had a chance, B, he, things that, this and that. I just want to win. I don't care about losing. I don't care.
Our
about
dream
losing.
election would be RFK versus Trump. That would be the best election outcome out there that I can think of.
Right. And even a Trump RFK ticket, would be a dream. People have bandied that about as a vice presidential candidate. I mean, there's a lot of ways to deal with this, but I only want to deal with the most pragmatic way of winning the getting back this country. I mean, that's all that matters. I don't care about nuance at this point. I don't need you to wear a certain color suit. We need to take the reins of power back from these Marxist maniacs, folks. Nothing else means anything. That's it. Just making sure they never get back in power is the second thing. The first thing is getting them out of power. The third thing is indicting them, but hopefully we'll get to that at some point.
Good luck. Jonathan G94, if 2024 doesn't work out, then it's a session better peacefully apart than held together by force.
Again, it's easier said than done legally.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, last time it didn't work out well for for at least, well, both sides.
Mm-hmm.
Leo Battenhausen. Guys, I really think a lot of people would love a Pee Wee show. Okay.
Again, I think everything about Pee Wee is out there. You really want is a greatest hits album of Pee Wee stuff. There's plenty of stuff on Pee Wee Herman. I don't think we have to recover it. You know, I mean, there's a lot of guys who masturbate in theaters, you know,
or parks,
or parks.
And they're generals.
And yeah,
we
we covered some other people who did that.
All right. Well, this is good. And this is the last super chat.
What? That's outrageous.
Blaine in. No offense taken at all, bro. Thank you for addressing the Donald J. Trump staffing question. The clarity you bring is grade A.
Yeah, I hope that was clear. I didn't mean to come down on you, but I'm nothing personal. It's just I've heard this before, and it's a little frustrating to keep hearing it when we have no choice. You know, and that's all I'm saying. You know, I don't care that he says stuff off the cuff and does all these different things and whatever. We have no choice. That's all I'm trying to get. This is not an open field where you can go with Tim Scott and hope for the best. You know what I mean? Like, or the Indian cat, you know, who has great ideas, but the idea of the Indian cat beating Biden is, of course, insane, you know. But, you know, anything could happen, I guess. We're going to find out one way or the other, you know, whether he's running from Rikers Island or not will soon to be seen. But even that has happened, as Barnes has pointed out, in American politics. Even presidential candidates have been jailed.
Socialist candidate.
The socialist candidate.
Or,
Eugene Debs ran from prison in 1924 or whatever year that was. He ran a couple of times, Debs. But unlike John Brennan, who voted for Gus Hall, the Communist Party candidate, and Angela Davis, his vice presidential candidate, they're not on the ballot this year.
Don't worry, though, John Brennan. There's an episode on America's Untold Stories. It's an early one.
On John Brennan.
That's right. Check it out. There's a very fine picture of them. People think he's very handsome in it. Speaking of which, have you found Oswald yet?
Oswald's been located. Let me put it that way. I know where Oswald is. Okay. Oswald is in Hollywood. Apparently safe, according to sources. So I haven't seen him physically, but the reports coming back is that Oswald is safe.
Yeah, well, I'm glad to hear that he's safe.
Safe and effective. Wait a second. What is that on the bottom? Is that time for the bell?
Well, hold on. You gotta give me a moment. There we go. We got the bell and there we got it all.
There it is, my friends.
No, I got to do one more. It's got to be odd.
Got to be an odd number on the bell. There it is. There we are. Okay, they're running out of the gate. There's a 2-horse on the inside.
Let's see if we can get to 80,000 over the next day or so.
I see 100 in our future coming up pretty quick. If we get past 80 right now, which I think these people today at home can get us past 80 or at 80. Where are we?
We are at 79,689, folks.
Holy crap.
311 more.
You know what? Drag your unconscious mothers who are on life support in the nursing home near the computer. She'll never even know that she hit the button. Okay. She'll thank you in the afterlife.
And yes, she absolutely will. And Basil, you snuck this in. I'm glad I happened to see it. Thank you very much. Huge super chat. This is 9/11. America, vote Trump.
Basil's right. Basil's completely right. And, you know, we've been castigated for even supporting the guy on this channel. And, you know, I thought about it. Like, if I shut up, they win. So I'm not going to shut up.
Yeah, we get a lot of that whole, I love the show until, Trump, I'm out of here.
I'm out of here. Got to go. I can't believe you said that.
Or my other favorite is, you're right about all this stuff, but you said that, so you're stupid. It's like, well, okay, fine.
It really is. It's really TDS, man. They are freaking nuts. And there's a reason they're nuts, because they know that he's a winner. And that's what scares them. That's what scares them. If he didn't have a chance, they wouldn't be so angry.
That's true. Now, folks, you can help support us by going to unstructured.locals.com. You could join it for free. Take a look around. See if you like, all the folks that are there. That's growing like crazy.
Is there nudity in there? Is this naked stuff?
No, I'm afraid not.
Okay. Wait, okay.
Well, that's okay. Well, hold on. I could put a link to your National Lampoon appearance.
Right. I think there's some
but I don't know. I have to.
Aren't there my photo funnies in there?
I think there's a way to get to them, but I don't put it up because we tend to keep things safe for work in our quarters.
Okay.
And you can also support Mark with his PayPal.
or Venmo, or mail a
Venmo.
check to Hunley, who sent me some money this week. Apparently, somebody mailed Hunley a check to his secret post office box in Switzerland. And
Yes.
Hunley, as he does, splits everything 50-50.
I also brought a book to you that was mailed by Phil.
Oh,
Nelson.
I got to mail you a book too. I got this other book I'm going to mail you this week. So, but yeah, the PayPal, Venmo, Hunley method for the JFK Book Fund is very, very, very helpful. I'll tell you that much. I have to get some books on RFK, studying up on him, Jr. That is, not the Big Daddy. The Big Daddy books I have. I don't think I'm missing any RFK Senior books, but the Junior books, there's a couple I want to get. So the PayPal Venmo fund is very helpful for that. Thanks.
And you could donate to me. It's not for books.
It's not for books. It's just if you love Hunley,
food,
right? If you love
this
Hunley,
is how I make a living, folks.
They call him T-Bone Hunley, the great blues steak musician from Chattanooga or wherever Hunley's from. Where are you from?
Tucson, Arizona.
Tucson, Arizona. Don't forget Winona.
Okay. Well, on that note, folks, next Tuesday is going to be another JFK Q&A.
Oh, yeah, this is going to be big. So save up your questions for Tuesday for number 5, Eric. Is this?
I think so, yeah. And,
number 5.
And if it's Dorothy Kilgallen, we'll answer.
if it's James Files, we'll
you may not
it.
like the answer, but it will be answered.
You can bring in bullet questions, handgun questions, Judith Very Baker questions, Grassy Knoll questions. Everything's admissible in the court of Q&A on Tuesday, Eric.
Exactly. And on that note, I think somebody just said that. Oh, yep. I have had cashier's checks mailed to the post office.
No, he has.
Money orders and everything. And I get it to Mark, or I've had cash mailed.
That's true. That is true.
On that note, everyone, I will have a grill stream tomorrow for those who are on locals and like to hang out. Nice casual show. Nothing specific planned. Just hang out, and we'll see everybody Tuesday.
Oh, thank you, Eric. That was very nice. Thank you. Thanks for stopping by, folks. See you on